to be fair. Primarily, first and foremost, they're thinking that it's basically going to be a $500 million plus global opening weekend. So that's important to note, global opening weekend. This is Deadline. So Deadline are reporting this. Avatar: The Way of Water looks to dive in with $500 million plus global opening weekend as their box office preview. I like looking at these just because it's interesting to sort of see, sort of where the mainstream media sits on these things. Oh, okay, go backwards. And they obviously report on what sort of analysts are saying, but analysts are obviously looking at chatter online. So they say, look, CERT begins 13 years after Avatar arrived in movie theaters, conquered and continues to conquer the global box office as the highest grossing release of all time with $2.9 billion worldwide, which is just insane. I mean, that is an achievement. James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water, the sequel to his triple Oscar-winning 3D sci-fi movie, arrives with a global outlook of $525 million in what is Disney's widest global release ever at 52,000 screens, surpassing Avengers Endgame. So that's important to note. They are saying that it's going to be Disney's biggest global release on a screen-by-screen basis. So 52,000 screens. So that is an important element. And I think that says a lot about where they're trying to combat the runtime with, because the runtime's just insane, right? You're looking at 3.5 hours total sort of, cinema time with theatrical trailers. And normally that means that you can't, statistically, you can't get as many showings in a day, right? So it looks like the way they're trying to combat that is by going, right, have as many screens as possible showing it. I mean, this is their biggest, widest global release ever, 52,000 screens. They're trying to get as many screens going as possible, which is surprising because you'd think that Avengers Endgame would have, that would have been their sort of crowning achievement on that. They would have put all their eggs in that basket, but apparently not. That's reserved for Avatar, and presumably because of the cost of it all. Now, they say broken out, that's $175 million on the high end in US and Canada, and $350 million overseas. I'm surprised they're going as low as $175 million just domestically opening weekend. That seems quite low domestic, I think. I don't know what you think there, Paulie. But
if it opens up to that low, then it is not making $1 billion.
Yeah, Tom's right.
Low, doesn't it? Domestically, that's low, right?
That's basically Way of Water area where they opened up.
What? You mean Wakanda?
The way, or yeah, Wakanda, whatever the fuck. I don't know. I'm getting them both flip flop. They got blue people in the water. Both of the same.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's not good. But obviously, the overall figure seems an impressive amount.
They better help it goes up for Christmas weekend, which I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. So obviously, ladies and gents on this channel, I'm sure loads of people think that I just shit all over Avatar, and that may be true. But this sort of segment, I wasn't trying to shit on Avatar. Put it that way. I didn't go into this with that intention. But it's difficult not to highlight $175 million. That's the high end of their prediction for the domestic total. That is really quite low. Now they're saying $350 million overseas. Some tracking has The Way of Water at 150.
That's still not even at $1 billion altogether.
No, it's $500 million. $500 million is what they reckon opening weekend globally. $500 million.
No, it's not going to make the money they need.
Well, I mean, if you get average drop off of what, I don't know, 60% next weekend, which I guess they're banking on it not doing that and picking up steam, that would struggle, wouldn't it? I think. But they say, look, and if the movie arrives at the low level, it's not the end of the world. Read why further down. We'll see that. So they say the offshore tickets are composed of $250 million plus another $100 million from China, always the variable market. I don't think China will do that much because they're on lockdown and they're protesting. It's not a great economic environment at the moment for the movies. I'm surprised Deadline hasn't recognized that fact. Seems a bit odd. You'd think that that'd be a pretty obvious one to point out, non-political. Hey, look, Avatar might not do very well in China because they're protesting their freedoms. Like you think, but no mind. Now they say since Deadline first announced screenwriting team for the sequels in 2013, blah 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 blah. Where is it? Where are they talking about this? So they say, you remember that Sony Spider-Man No Way Home decimated its predictions last year. Sony predicted that the domestic opening for the Marvel Studios title would be $130 million. The town called it $175 to $100 million. And the movie came in at $260.1 million. The global projection was $290, $390, and No Way Home landed at $600 million. Could that happen here with Avatar: The Way of Water? If it does happen, domestic box office, it's because families and parents and older adults decided to walk up and break from holiday activities in a pre-Christmas corridor. Despite being hot on tracking throughout all demos, the comparison here for Avatar: The Way of Water, given its older skewing fan base, are legacy franchise sequels like Top Gun Maverick. Interesting comparison. And Jurassic World Dominion, not the Marvel movies. No Way Home over-indexed on its opening weekend and giving moviegoers fear of missing out for what was the most connective and expansive piece of the MCU. Avatar: The Way of Water will be by appointment viewing, meaning moviegoers are going to want to see the movie under best circumstances.
I just looked at... sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
I just looked at all the seating for the first showing in the big Madison Theater in Wisconsin, which is the capital.
Yeah.
They're not even fucking sold out. The IMAX 3D is only about half full for the first two showings, and the 3D, the first 3D showing is not even got like 2 or 3 people in it. The first standard showing only has 2 seats sold. Wow. That is not good.
Let me check while you're talking, Tom. Let me check a couple LA theaters.
Yeah, please do, because
bro, I will say, Tom.
This is Leicester Square Cineworld. This is
okay.
Central London. This is actually where most English world premieres are. I've been there for world premieres. It is at Leicester Square Cineworld.
Now, granted, the IMAXs have the most of the best seats taken already. I will give them that for the 2 showings they got, but
yeah, but everyone's gonna be.
Let's have a look, shall we?
It's still only half full.
Should I look up?
Well, they have the IMAX, so
should I look up the 3D or the regular digital cinema primetime?
I've been checking them all just to kind of see the difference, and I'm surprised. I thought the standard ones would be full up. They're not. Right. They got only two seats sold.
Wow.
Okay, that I thought it was on Leicester Square. For goodness' sake, what's going on?
Okay, that one 3D for at 8:10 p.m. 3D reel is not even halfway sold out.
And that's LA?
That is right down the street from me in central LA.
Right. So
but I'll go to Hollywood in a second.
So this is
even worse.
But this is Leicester Square, IMAX 3D, 7 o'clock peak time, right?
That's
peak
the biggest theater you guys got, right?
Okay.
Well, it's not the biggest one, but it's Central London. It's where the world premiere.
It's the most famous or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty. I mean, it's Central London. It's a pretty big one. So 7 o'clock. Let's have a look. What? No. Continue as a guest. Do I have to really do all of this?
Just add 1 ticket and should let you see the seats.
Right.
Because you guys have seating over there, right?
Yeah, it'll show you.
They have seats there.
Oh.
That's kind of full.
Not too bad.
So
not bad.
I got one.
It's more than I got here.
Same theater, different auditorium. 7:45.
Oh, no, this is better than we think. Sorry, this is way better than we think. So the black ones are available.
Right.
That's actually really good.
That's what I was saying. It's better than my IMAX showing.
Mine
is roughly half. Yeah.
So I got
yours is pretty good.
Jesus, that's pretty good,
guys. The same theater. I got 7:45 p.m. Only 5 sold, and that's a bigger auditorium. Another 3D.
Wow.
So we got 1 sold out. 2
Well, there
40
you go. Well,
sold
it's
out.
gonna go do well overseas. It looks like. I don't know about in the US. So we'll have to see.
There's not many sold out though. So if we're looking through them, or maybe it's just not in 4D. I don't know. Yeah, 4D IMAX. So there's one there sold out, and there was another one sold out. They're not. It's not sold out. Put it that way. Interesting. I think this will do quite well in the UK then, by the looks of it.
How about if I go to the Burbank, Tom, that Chris Gore always goes to?
Yeah.
Almost full, 7:15. Almost full, 8:15. The other ones are empty.
So people, 6 just sent me a shot of her section. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
The Grove almost full.
Like 30 out of probably 100 some seats. It looks like 100 seats.
The thing is, there's a lot of screens, and there's only a couple saying almost full. I mean, there's tons of screens. There's tons of times.
Well, they have to. They have to do that because otherwise you're not going to get. You have to play on numbers rather than.
Her 7 p.m. showing looks a little bit more full, but not much more.
The
quantity over quality of screening bookings on this one because it's just so long. The movie's just so.
Well, I'm
long.
talking about. See, the one I'm talking about is the only IMAX between here and like Milwaukee. So that's like a.
That should be pretty full then.
That's what I'm saying, and it's the capital. Now Milwaukee might be doing a little bit better as far as number wise, but it's not. It's only like roughly half full for both showings, less so for the earlier showing.
I reckon
the IMAXs. The IMAXs here, Universal, City Walk, Hollywood, almost full. The Grove.
I'll say this then,
almost full. This is just the IMAXs though. Century City,
good,
almost full. So
that's what they need is that IMAX number.
Yeah, those 3 different IMAXs
money.
In like that Hollywood area just called out. They're pretty much sold out. I'm looking at the seating charts as well. When they say almost full, like the front.
This movie has to break an opening record to be able to do what it's going to do.
What does it need to make, Tom? What does it need to make, bro?
Cameron alluded to that it had to make about 400 million. Some people were like, 2 billion. And some people were like, oh, well, I don't know about that. Well, then it got out there that, the budget's somewhere between 400 and 500 million. So yeah, that would pretty much mean you have to clear like close to or over like 1.5 or $2 billion to be in the black here. And this is not sounding like, and that was the thing is that's why Cameron, I don't think was sounding so confident. He's like, we don't know if we're going to get to do any more. I may have to reshoot the ending for part 3. It sounded like, so we'll have to
just
see
as an FYI, so I this is turning into quite a positive, but this is not a positive. The theatre near me, which is the only IMAX screen near me for, it's probably got like a 2-hour radius around it. They are only showing. How many showings do you think of Avatar in one day? Do you think that they're showing? Any guesses?
See, and that's the thing that's going to hurt. I think only one main screen is only going to be able to show like 4 showings in a day, maybe 5 at most.
3.
Yeah.
It is literally 3 showings a day that they're doing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because we only have one IMAX screen in that theater too, and that's what I noticed too. Is the first day it's only 2 showings. Let me see what it is on Friday. Hang on.
So I was telling Tom, I was telling Nate earlier
3 showings. That's it.
All the movie houses not all, the 3 that I've been to here and around town. They have huge displays of the digital display of Avatar in the lobbies. I think that's a smart idea.
I wish I would have taken some pictures though of some of the other bigger releases that weren't so long, so you guys could see the amount of showings compared to the amount of showings they got here. Because this seems like hardly any showings.
It is interesting.
It is if you think about it, because I mean, it kind of reminds me of like, I wish like, because when Joker came out, that was crazy. Because when I bought my tickets for the theater, there was like 4 screens showing the Joker, so I had no problems getting decent tickets. That wasn't a problem. By the time I got to the theater, though, all of the screens but one were showing Joker. That's how many they were selling in that day. So again, we'll have to check back Thursday. Some people are saying, I think Kareen sent in a super chat about that. So like, yeah, some people wait, but usually for bigger movies like this, they sell out pretty early for the big screenings if they're going to be big. So I mean, even compared to like Way of the Water, because I think I remember looking, or I mean, Wakanda. Considering I looked at that one, now I'm flip flopping them all the time. When I remember looking at that one, I remember that one being a bit more full because I thought about going to see it, but I'm like, nah. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that'll have a better opening than this. That's not good.
I'm like, you know, I'm over 6'1", and this thing is huge.
It's a big ass screen, isn't it?
It's well, and it's digital, so it moves. It wasn't just staying like that. So you had all the imagery going on. Really beautiful.
It looks like about 50 TVs put together.
Right. And I've seen that now in all the big. I've been to some of the main theaters lately in Hollywood. They all have that with Avatar, and I'm like, well, that's where they're getting the word out. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, you know, I still think $175 million domestic opening, that's terrible. That's not good. That's very low. But it might be undershooting it. They might be undershooting it in an effort to, I don't know, stir up people to watch it. I don't know.
Well, I was going to ask Tom. I was going to ask both of you guys about that. Who was talking about this movie up until a month ago?
Well, we
don't know. And I noticed the other day that it hasn't trended yet.
It has today. It did.
Did it finally today?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
I did for me. I saw it in the UK.
I still haven't seen it. Scream 6 has been trending. I think that's paid for. Well, I haven't seen it yet anyway.
So let's just say it's not trending. However, from James Cameron's, you know, crazy interviews and all that stuff, and us talking about it, I think there's been more. I think all this talk around this movie has it's part of their marketing scheme. They probably said, Cameron, go and say some crazy shit because you don't give a shit. You know, I just, other than that, I just don't see it. You know, I know Chris Gore liked it. So I'm kind of interested in seeing it now, but I wasn't even gonna go see this movie, man. I was not gonna go see this movie.
It may wind up being a huge success. I'm just not seeing the buzz for it. I'm seeing more buzz for things like Megan than I'm seeing for this, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll agree with that, but I mean, the thing about that is that you know, this is something which doesn't need the buzz, and the thing, I think it lulls you into a false sense of security in believing that your opinion is the sort of wider opinion of the normie. So, you know, whenever I do a video on it, when I had been doing the updates way back, I'd always be like, you know, who's interested in this? And you would get floods of comments coming through, absolute floods of them. And I just think, I think this is one of those. This is one of those movies that doesn't really need, you know, it doesn't have that chatter because it's got the normies' attention. For some reason, somehow.
Maybe, but also my mom's response to the trailer was not very good. And my mom is usually a pretty positive person. Like, she watches a lot of that fucking...
Your mom is positive.
Yeah, she watches all that Hallmark fucking
did
puppy
not
shit.
Rub off on you, did it?
No, hell no. But she saw the trailer and I was waiting for her response because the first time she saw it was over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And she loved the first one. Like, she adored it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's like, is that a new one? I'm like, yeah, it's the new one coming out this Christmas. She's like, it looks just like the original. I'm like, yeah. She's like, so they're not releasing the first one again? That's a different movie? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, it looks just like the old one. She did not look like she was even remotely interested in it. Like, it was just kind of weird.
It is the same.
I think another thing it has going for it is its release time. And I said this before Midnight Suns, I think, Tom, is that it's got that December 16th till what? When's Puss in Boots?
I think Puss in Boots is giving it 1 week. And then because Puss in Boots opens over Christmas.
Okay.
So you've got Megan and Puss in Boots plus Violent Night, which is doing all right. So I'm curious to see how those give Avatar a bit of a run for its money.
Well, also too, Tom, what Tom said in the two movies that I went to go see in the theater recently, when the Avatar trailer came up, I was like, no sounds. When the Megan trailer came up, wow.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I don't get the appeal to that Megan thing. I don't know.
I don't either, but it keeps popping up in my feed and all this other
you know
shit.
what?
And
people love that kind of. It's like a horror.
what's
movie,
funny is it's
Slay
basically the
Queen,
Child's Play remake with a chick
Yeah, it is.
doll instead of a
But
male
like chick,
doll.
yeah.
But you know what? I don't care, because that's what I said about Child's Play. I'm like, you know what? There's what sucks about this Child's Play remake is the fact that it's a Child's Play remake is its problem. If it was its own original thing, it would actually be a very interesting horror movie.
Tom, if it's rated R though, it can't do that well. I mean,
that is
Joker,
a limit, but
crossing $1 billion.
But no, I mean, Paulie's right. Like, there's no way in the world that Puss in Boots or Megan are going to be able to gross anywhere near what Avatar does, but that doesn't mean it ain't going to take a chunk out of its ass.
No, I agree. I do agree. I think the real thing again going against Avatar is just its runtime. And loads of people in the chat were dropping in saying, well, this many shown. That's not IMAX. I was only looking at the IMAX, and the IMAX.
Yeah, we're just talking about IMAX. Yeah.
IMAX is what they want. They earn more money from it. That's the thing that they keep selling it on. It's shot on IMAX, in IMAX, the best, blah blah blah. So that's what they want. They want you to watch it in IMAX 3D. They don't want you to watch it on the other screens. And if they can only have, and that's their most lucrative as well. So them having only 3 showings a day in my local one, which is the closest IMAX for a couple of hours drive from where I am, that's not a good sign. That's not good from that regard anyway.
Well, the AMC's here in LA, the IMAXs are mostly sold out, but there's tons of other screens it's on.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is their biggest release, 52,000 screens.
This is right.
It is Disney's biggest screen-wide release ever. It makes sense. Makes sense that that's what they would do. Because I mean, how else are you going to recoup it back otherwise? But also, that's a decision for the vendors as well, right? Like the exhibitors, they must be going, right, well, this is the movie we're going to make loads of money from. We'll sort of downgrade everything else.
I heard some of them were griping because they're, in fact, I'd heard from somebody that some smaller theaters are not wanting to take the movie. This is a pretty reliable source. That because they want 65% of the box office for the first, I can't remember if it was 3 weeks or 30 days.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of these smaller theaters that are just like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Because not only are, like you said, you're only getting so many screenings per show. And some of these theaters only have maybe 1 or 2 screens. So that means that's the only thing that's going to be playing. Right? Like, so if nobody shows up, then what the fuck are they going to do? And they still have to pay out rental fees and everything too on top of it all. And because I remember talking to another small theater owner, and she was griping about some of Disney's practices too on that note. Because like she gets pissed whenever they have a premiere, because even if she has something that's playing better, they're usually contractually obligated to have to move that movie into the bigger theater. So even if something else is playing much better, they have to move that movie out, put it in their bigger theater, and then they got these 2 or so ever many other smaller screens where they have to put, people they're selling out whatever, but they can't sell out whatever the big movie is supposed to be.
Tom, but what's the next biggest movie after Avatar that they'll have to move Avatar out?
Well, that's the thing is we don't know how Puss in Boots or Megan's going to play. And somebody said in the chat that it's PG-13. If Megan's PG-13, that's got some chances.
It's PG-13, but it's January 6th, I think.
I thought that come out over Christmas.
You could be right.
You could be right. Okay, well, if it has till January 6th, that gives Avatar 2 weeks, and it all depends on how Puss in Boots plays. Now, I mean, Puss in Boots could just do jack shit, but don't forget the last one did do $500 million, almost, not quite, but almost as long ago as the first Avatar. So we'll have to see. We got 2 franchises that haven't had a movie in a while, but Puss in Boots has the upper hand here because it's part of the Shrek franchise, and the Shrek films have had more sequels. We've had at least a couple, so.
It's not just that either. There's a few coming out in January. Actually, it's not just that. There's a fair
The
few.
Scream comes out in March, but I don't know if that's going to be a big.
So you've got Megan. Obviously, that comes out January 6th. Is it January 6th? Yeah, 6th January. Then Friday, January 13th, you have The Amazing Maurice, which is a family film. You've got to think about, what sort of market is going to be pulling away from the Avatar. So The Amazing Maurice, family films, got Emilia Clarke, Hugh Laurie, David Tennant, like relatively large names in it. And I've seen that advertised around now. I've seen that advertised. I didn't see Strange World advertised. I have seen The Amazing Maurice advertised. So that comes out. So Megan, that one. And then it doesn't look like there's any other movies really coming out until the end of January. There's not that much there, to be fair. By the looks of it.
When's Shazam? Isn't that like the next big superhero one?
Yeah, but it doesn't
That
have to
might
be a
be
superhero movie
March.
to take away from it.
Is it
Oh, that's
March?
until March. Yeah,
I think I could be wrong, but I think it's March.
but aren't they also counting on Avatar to have some legs for a few months?
Yeah, of course so. Yeah.
They better
they
hope.
have to.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
they'd
that's the
have
thing.
to.
If this thing plays like fucking Wakanda Forever, it's gonna be Avatar never because like
Well,
have you been
actually,
waiting all morning to say that?
no, I just made that shit up.
Well, actually, February 17th, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is releasing. So, I mean, that leads
I don't know
into it
how
as
much
well.
that's really gonna see because the second one didn't even do that great.
Cocaine Bear, February 24th.
See, now if they were releasing that up against
Got my
Avatar, then we'd have some problems here. Because I think people would actually be like, wait a minute, Cocaine Bear, Avatar 2. I've seen Avatar. I'm going to see Cocaine Bear.
That would be like the perfect winter movie too. It should be out now.
Yeah, warm you up. Heart warmer.
Snow. Yeah, but listen, people love those horror flicks in the forest and the snow.
Oh yeah, I love it.
They love
I'm game for that. I'm game for that. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it sort of comes out. But